12, and yes.
Could I do throw one more discussion out before we move on? I am concerned about, it's nothing major, maybe the budget committee have to re-meet, but we have $69,000 from sales tax going to the events board. In fact, I'm for the events board, but I'm opposed to sales tax, which could go for streets, which we used to give, a lot of money to streets. So to me, I would like to see that $69,000 taken out, whether you increase the fees or lower services or what. But to me, I don't like sales tax. Events board, to me, should come out of stadium funds. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, you can bring whatever motion you want. Maybe you should bring your motion. We'll see if we got a second before I weigh in on this. You got a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Hendricks and a second by Councilmember Brimmer to reduce the event budget by $69,000, and I assume place that $69,000 back in the general fund. Is that what you're saying?
Or streets. I'd like to see events fund come from the stadium funds.
All right, I'm going to have to speak to that because I think you need to understand the impact of that motion. That motion, we have basically I call it 1.3 hotels in the city of East Wenatchee. Well, 2.3. It depends on how we look at it, but our total take from hotel motel taxes have been running, I think, somewhere between around $40,000 on an annual basis, and that is insufficient funds to support our events department. And so if the effect of this motion would be to eliminate our events department as it currently exists, we would not be able to fund it with the $40,000. And that means, in my view, that we would not be able to support the Classic Chassis Parade, we would not be able to support the Wings and Wheels Festival, we would not, I think we would absolutely risk the continuation of both of those events, as well as the other events that we do, one of which is coming up, the Christmas lighting, the newly created Christmas Advent Parade that we just did. There's several others, including the Easter egg hunt and the other activities that the city does. So you can do what you want to, obviously, but the effect of this would be to put those events in a totally volunteer situation where they have never been since the advent of those events from the day one. They've never been in that position where they had to administer their own events with total volunteer labor. And I seriously doubt whether we could continue them in their current state or with the current amount of activity that we get in those events in East Wenatchee without some contribution from our general fund. So that's where we're at. So, discussion.
Just to clarify again, I'm not trying to eliminate them. I'm trying to say some of the fees could be increased. We talked about increasing property taxes 1%. Most of those admission fees have not been increased in the last 10, 12 years. I'm saying we could cut back, some of the events on Classy Chassis. I mean,
Are you talking about increasing the entry fees for somebody to come and be in the Classic Chassis?
They have not gone up in the last 5, 10 years, as far as I know.
They're already increasing. They've already been increasing.
Okay, they haven't been in the last few years, I know that. We talk about property tax going up 1% a year. So far they haven't, I know, most part they haven't. So that's great, more power to you. Maybe that's a good time. So maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Increase the fees and keep that sales tax and sales tax.
Well, the result of this, first of all, our hotel motel tax, because we took back the city of Wenatchee, is closer to 55 to 60.
That's just to ask that question.
That's what it is. So the issue is, if this motion passes, then the council would have to entertain another motion to reduce the costs in the events fund because you can't have a fund, you can't budget a fund at a deficit. So one action here to take away the revenue would force you into a situation where you have to deal with the cost of reducing reduce, in this case, would be compensation and benefits, but that's the single largest cost of the events fund. And you would essentially be eliminating the staffing in the events fund, just to take the revenue out. I mean, if you took the revenue out.
I thought that's what I just said.
Right, you see what I mean?
Again, I wasn't talking about staffing, I was talking about events.
We support these events with paid staff. We have one full-time and one part-time paid staff to do the work of the events board. Primarily, that events fund is spent. I don't know. It's probably what 90% of it spent to pay those salaries and benefits. Yeah. So you can't take $69,000 or whatever. I don't know if that's the right number, but you can't take that size of contribution to that fund away without eliminating those positions, which is what Mr. Gertie describes as eliminating the costs. But it's eliminating the costs means terminating the positions, and that without those positions, we cannot, in my humble opinion, run those events in East Wenatchee. So, in my view, a vote for this motion is a vote to eliminate the city's support as it currently exists for those events, and thereby, in my opinion, eliminate the events. Yes.
Nick said there's another $15,000 to $20,000 be coming back to us in 2012, according to the contract Wenatchee had. We're doing the same thing, right? And then I thought we were through with paying the convention center portion of the expansion. Did that end this year or last year?
No, it's in this year.
It's in this year.
So you look at the.
So it's in the budget. In fact, we'll have more income. Okay, that's all I want to know. Okay.
That income is the end of this year's budget.
Okay.
You received that this year, and it's in the next budget, like you said.
So that stadium funds, where did that go to then? They didn't go to the events board?
It goes to the events board. It's in the budget.
But we didn't have it last year. I'm curious how it.
We did have it last year,
Yes, we did have it.
and we augmented it with some general fund monies last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that.
Well,
I think.
2009 is the first year we put in sales.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to sometime.
And 2009 is when we brought those events into the city.
No, it's 2007. That was 2007.
Yeah.
By the time we fully integrated the events fund, we had to support it with sales tax.
Yeah.
So how much is sales tax put in now? Including that
We're
20,000
scheduled,
figure?
the budget calls for $69,000, okay, which then breaks the fund even for the year 2012. Okay, if you take out that revenue, then you have an unbalanced fund that has a negative balance according to the budget. That was my point about your follow-on action if you take $69,000 out of revenue means that you have to then amend this preliminary budget to take out about $69,000 in costs, okay? Because you would not pass an unbalanced budget without an appropriation to pay for the costs now that are not covered by revenue.
Nick, my question was, that 69,000, does it include the additional 20% the city's going to get back? If you had a chance to put that in the budget, with the city of Wenatchee and the city of East Wenatchee, and give less to the visitor convention board? That's my question.
Yeah, I'm not sure the answer to that. We haven't written the contract or entered into it yet with the Visitors Bureau that would reduce our contribution by that 20%. So since we haven't, I suspect that that's not been factored into this budget.
No, it hasn't.
So that'd be,
Right.
so that'd be 45 or so instead of 69, roughly. Just talking round figure.
And I agree with Nick. I even said at the beginning of my motion that the budget committee have to meet again and either increase revenues or cut back expenses. I agree. I said that the first time, so we've been arguing about the same thing.
No, I totally agree with you. We would have to meet again, and we'd have to eliminate probably one of those positions and be in a position of not being able to support those events.
And I'm not
Let me
micromanaging.
give you a number now. The hotel motel tax revenue that we expect to receive next year, right? This has nothing to do with the events fund yet. Hotel motel tax money we expect to receive and send off to the Business and Convention Bureau is $36,000. If we reduce that $36,000 by 20%, okay, how much money is that?
7,200, right?
Okay, so that's the money, Chuck. That's what you're talking about.
Okay.
You would then be able, if you reduce it by 20%, okay, you then would be able to, so it's $7,000 or so that then you would be able to put into the events fund. So 7 doesn't equate to 69. So if it is additional revenue, then we might, if you pass that, it might be able then to be transferred.
I would like to remind the council, as I have reminded you before, that since 1996, you've had a city policy to support recreational tourism in the city as the primary driver of economic development in East Wenatchee. So my question would be, why would you want to eliminate your events when when that would be inconsistent with your primary policy on how to develop your city economically? I guess we'll move on with discussion. Any discussion, further discussion on this motion that's before us? All right, all in favor of the motion, raise your hands. Those opposed, raise your hands. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Those opposed, say aye.
Aye.
I think the motion failed 5-2.